Again, and my name is Jeremy Cronemeyer, and thank you for joining us for our weekly wrap-up. I'm Operations Manager for Wickham Financial Group, and I have Graham Wickham here, President and CEO of Wickham Financial and Insurance Services. Graham, what happened in the markets last week?
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for our listeners. Jumping on another weekly call. We really saw the equity market just really move so much higher this last week. We saw interest rates falling as Fed Chairman Powell came out in the Jackson Hole Symposium and basically make a very clear statement. Their next step in September is to lower rates. The real question would be how quick and how fast. But we did see the Russell 2000 jump about 3.5%, while we saw the S&P and the Nasdaq gain about 1.4%. Now, all the S&P sectors were up, but energy was the one laggard. So we saw yields fall off of the Fed chairman's statement. As inflation is moving towards that 2% target, that goal that they have, and he said it was, they're more inclined to really look at September as their first drop in rates. Now, again, how much, how fast, that's the real question. But we did see some pretty big revisions over in the labor market. We saw some weaker job growth than previously reported. When we looked at the revision, that showed about a 30% lower growth over the past year. We're looking at some economic outlook. We saw some gradual economic slowdown. A looser monetary policy could still support this market. If we look at business activity, the U.S. business activity slightly declined, but remained in expansionary territory. We did see some home sales increase due to some falling mortgage rates as we saw those yields coming down, primarily from Fed Chairman Powell's comments. Internationally, we did see the Bank of Japan basically hint that they're looking to raise rates. So we saw the yen strengthen a bit. If we continue to go over to Canada, we saw some inflation cooling a bit over there. If we go over to the European and the UK business activity, that did show some strength despite Germany's manufacturing slowdown. Now, this week is going to be a really big week. We got inflation figures that are coming out on Friday. That should be the PCE price index. That's expected to show a slight year-over-year decline, again, reinforcing the Fed's confidence that inflation's coming down in a constructive fashion for them to start loosening the rate policy. We'll be looking at the GDP estimates, no changes expected. The big earnings report this week. It's all about NVIDIA. It's been about NVIDIA. That's going to set the tone. U.S. economic data, we'll be looking at consumer confidence, durable goods, some trades balances, some pending home sales, and then we'll flip over internationally, and we'll be looking at some updates from Europe, Australia, Japan, Germany, and over in China, we kind of wrap up some things looking at manufacturing and service PMI reports. Those are due out, I think, Friday evening.
Gotcha. Well, I had a question for you, Graham. Since the lows a few weeks ago, we've had a pretty big rally. What do you expect going forward?
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. And I think we have a chart that I can bring up. It's called the S&P oscillator, short-term oscillator. There's a lot of different things that we look at. I don't know if our viewers can really see it, but we have a lot of different indicators that we look at. But this is one, and this is it's a little bit of red and green. So if you look up here in the graph, and you'll see where it's red, and it's above that red line, that is an indication that this market is overbought. And that's no secret here. We've rallied a lot in a very short amount of time, and the oscillator is telling us that we're overbought. Now, it doesn't tell you when the market's going to sell off or how deep or how fast, but it just gives you a hint that in the short run, we're overbought. On the flip side of that, if it drops down in the green area, that's basically oversold. So if you're looking at what we're looking at on our screens, we're in an overbought situation. Maybe you need a little extra cash. Maybe you want to pay yourself for some great gains we've had in the short run. Might not be a bad time to consider a little nibbling, a little cut around the edges, adding a little extra protection.
Got it. Well, we always appreciate the information and expertise, Graham, and we thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.